Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Waypoint. Today we are playing GTA 3 Definitive Edition, and I have not been this excited to record gameplay for the Weekly Waypoint in a little while because I'm currently having a lot of fun with this game. Now, the Definitive Edition versions of these games were notoriously bad on launch, so for those of you who haven't heard, even though it took them 3 years, they have very recently put out a massive patch for all three games, which has drastically improved the remasters. It's still arguable as to whether or not they're the quote-unquote definitive editions, but I really like them now. In fact, I say now, I didn't own them before this. With these big patches, they also put the trilogy down to £20, which was a far deeper discount than it's ever been before. And yeah, I picked them up on Steam during the sale. And I've only played GTA 3 so far, although I did test the waters with San Andreas when it released on Game Pass for like 6 months or whatever it was on there for. I forgot about that. When I said I hadn't played this before, I wasn't lying to you. I just forgot that I did do the San Andreas thing. But no, sorry, that was quite rambly. I could go back and redo it, but that wouldn't be very authentic now, would it? This is the version of me that my friends have to deal with when I'm hyperactively info dumping on them, so this is the version of me that you get. But yeah, didn't play a lot of San Andreas Definitive Edition. I probably poked around for like an hour and went, this isn't great. But that was 3 years ago now. As for GTA 3, I've got an interesting history with GTA 3. Well, not an interesting history, but maybe a little bit of a more unique one than just I played it when I was a kid. Because I didn't. My first 3D GTA was Vice City. We rented GTA 3 from a games rental shop, and the disc didn't work. Every time at the end of the opening cutscene on the bridge, it just crashed every single time. So I actually got my first experience with GTA 3 when I bought the trilogy before the definitive editions came out on PS4, and I played a decent bit of GTA 3 on PS4, I would say a couple of years ago, and then I picked it up again and played it a little bit more about 4 months ago actually. I thought I'd done a weekly waypoint in GTA 3 before, but I was searching back for my videos and I can't find it, so maybe I'm misremembering that. All the same, despite being more familiar with Vice City and San Andreas myself, I find GTA 3 really quaint and really charming. I mean, as charming as a crime simulator chock full of absurd stereotypes can be. And for the record, when I was a kid playing mostly Vice City but also San Andreas, I never really did the story missions. I didn't really care about those. I just played around in the open world, used cheat codes a lot of the time to get flying cars and go to islands I wasn't supposed to be at yet, all that good stuff. But I did do a decent bunch of missions on the PS4 version, and when I say the PS4 version, they pretty much just ported the PS2 version and made it widescreen, which meant it was a little bit blurry. The frame rate had issues. This is probably why the still flawed definitive edition is my favourite version of this game now. For the record, by the way, you can still see how these games used to look, because what you're looking at now is something called classic lighting. The best example is in San Andreas. Back on PS2, San Andreas had this kind of orange haze to it, this kind of like fog, for want of a better term, I guess, and the definitive edition got rid of that because, you know, further view distance better, right? But it just completely removed the character of that game, and it looked awful when you were high up in the air and you could just see the entire map stretched out below you. Made it look really small, made it look like you were just looking at a 3D render of the game. So now when you boot up these games for the first time, you are looking at the version with classic lighting applied, and even though it's called classic lighting, it still has some nicer shading effects. The character models still end up looking quite plasticky, and I think sometimes when the lighting hits the cars in certain ways, they look like they're made of plastic. This is the plastic edition more than it is the definitive edition, I think. And I've still run into interesting bugs, textures that aren't applied entirely properly, but I think I like this remaster the same way I like the Ratchet & Clank PS3 remasters, which are also deeply flawed. I think at this point, with this patch, what it brings to the game is just about outweighing the problems that it also brings to the game with some of the bugs. That being said, I've only looked at GTA 3 so far, so, you know, whatevs. I do intend to do this in Vice City next week and then San Andreas the week after. If you want to see what those games look like, just stick around. I should explain what this footage is, by the way. This footage is me proving to the state of Liberty City, if that's how that works, that I am a law-abiding citizen. I do earn my money in an honest manner, and I do work part-time as a taxi driver, and later on in this video you will also see I work part-time as an ambulance driver. There have been some very disturbing rumours spread about me, about what I've been up to in this city since I got out, and I just want to put them all to bed with this footage to show people that yes, I'm a perfectly law-abiding citizen and my money is gained legitimately. You know, maybe I don't do everything exactly by the book, I probably ran across the odd traffic violation or two, but honestly, in this city, who doesn't? I wanted to see how long of a chain I could get of doing, you know, taxi deliveries isn't the term, of doing fares, because anyone who's played this game knows that if you have a save file where you've done some missions, some legally law-abiding missions for some just errands for some friends, you know, like Tom Nook and that kind of thing, certain parts of a city become very dangerous to exist in, and that makes these things harder. There are achievement guides that are like, hey, you should probably do this on a fresh save file if you're going to do it. But that's no fun, is it? The achievement for the taxi fares is just to do 100 taxi fares, which is a lot, don't get me wrong, but all of the other achievements for like the vigilante mode and the paramedic mode and the firefighter mode are to do a certain amount of things in one go, and especially for the paramedic one, they just seem downright impossible to me. But hey, maybe I actually manage it in this video. Maybe when I you know, clock out for the day with my successful 100 fares complete as a taxi driver, maybe you'll then see me go on to successfully reach paramedic level 12 and get the Steam achievement in this video. Who knows? It's open-ended. You'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's funny because I think of, you know, like there are so many other GTA type games I could play which are more modern, like, I mean, just hell, Saints Row the 3rd Remastered I picked up ages ago, but I never played it, even though I love Saints Row the 3rd. Mafia Definitive Edition is currently on Xbox Game Pass, and I really enjoyed that when I checked that out. There's a ton of other open-world crime simulators or whatever I could be playing. But there's something about GTA 3, especially with like the vehicles and how they drive and how difficult it is to stay on the damn road, and just how clanky and jank everything is. There's something I just love about this game and its 2 sequels. By the way, I was thinking as well, I own GTA 4, but I've never really played it, and I haven't played GTA 5 in ages. I'm not really that excited about GTA 6. When I think about modern GTA, I just think about GTA Online, and I couldn't give a shit about GTA Online at this point. I was really excited about the concepts of it all the way back when people were modding multiplayer into GTA San Andreas, and again when GTA 4 multiplayer became a thing. I remember searching for GTA 4 multiplayer videos on YouTube, and there was like one in all of existence on the website, and I was just so fascinated by the concept of sharing this open world sandbox with other people. But while I did play GTA Online with 5 when it came out a little bit, a decent bit, and I did have a lot of fun in there, just seeing it get milked, you know. And for the record, I don't exactly keep up with GTA Online, so if this is a completely crazy take, I apologise, but like just from afar, seeing it get milked for microtransactions, remembering how long it took to grind money in that game to get anything cool, I'm just like, oh, now when they announce GTA 6, I'm like, I don't really care. But I tend to forget that GTA 5, you know, has a single player mode. It's still a traditional GTA game in that way, and GTA 6 hopefully will be too, so maybe I should care a little bit more about GTA 6. I don't know. The stories that GTA tells aren't exactly my favourite genre of story either. You know, it's mildly interesting to see, you know, like, crime, for want of a better term. No, there's plenty of better terms, I'm just not using them. These stories can be interesting and done well, like, you know, Breaking Bad, for example, if we're talking about this genre of story, but, like, I'm not sure GTA has ever told one of those stories in an interesting way, but then I've never played through a full GTA game, so I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's right, it's a call to engagement, and I'm going to look very silly and feel very embarrassed when nobody leaves a comment. Anyway, enough about GTA, for there are many other fun things to talk about this week, especially in terms of gaming and what I've been playing. First of all, this week, I picked up the Jingle Jam bundle. If you don't know what that is, a YouTube channel I watch that you've probably heard of, the Yogscast, they do an annual charity drive called the Jingle Jam. Well, just Jingle Jam, there's no V. And for £35 you can get yourself a nifty little bundle of games. The ones that stood out to me this year included Shadows of Doubt, 2 Point Campus, And for the King 2, though there's plenty of others as well, I opted to support Boba's campaign for Autistica, but there are plenty of charities you can choose, and you don't have to support any particular member. But yeah, I bring that up because, like, genuinely, there are some indie games on there that I've had my eye on for a long time, like Shadows of Doubt, for the King 2. I've, like, barely set foot in these games this week because there's just been too many games to go around, but I'm really happy to have them. Some of them I did play a little bit on Game Pass before, like 2 Point Campus. I feel like I'm getting more and more disenfranchised with Game Pass because the longer I stay subscribed to it, the more it feels like games just leave, like, because of the way I approach games. I don't just sit down and play through a game or dedicate a decent chunk of time to a game. I kind of come and go as I please, and I'm starting to realize that Xbox Game Pass more and more is starting to feel like a game rental service than it is like a, oh, look at all these games I have access to. Because every time I'm like, oh, I was playing this game like a few months ago, which usually ends up being a year and a half ago, I want to continue playing that game. I look it up and it's fucking gone. So more and more these days, I'm seeing the value in just buying games again, especially RPGs, such as, and this was never on Game Pass, but Live Alive, another purchase I made this week. It sounds like I'm fucking Mr. Moneybags over here, but actually no, this was just on sale for, firstly, I didn't even know it was on PC. I thought it was a Nintendo Switch exclusive, so I was super surprised when I was browsing the Square Enix catalogue on like one of the last days of the sale, just to see if there was anything that stood out to me, and I saw Live Alive on there. And secondly, it was like £16, which is crazy for a Square Enix HD 2D RPG. For those of you who don't know, Live Alive is... Firstly, I have like no history with this game. I didn't know it existed until it was announced in the Nintendo Direct, but I kind of fell in love with it at first sight, and it's just taken 2 years for me to be able to get my hands on it. Live Alive is kind of a cross between like Octopath Traveler and Chrono Trigger. So when you open a game, you've got a selection of characters. So think like Octopath, you've got a selection of characters you can start as, but instead of them all starting at different areas in the same world, these are characters which all start at different time periods within our history, including like near future and far future as well. So far I've completed the prehistory chapter, and I am towards the end of the Imperial China chapter. It's incredibly charming. I will say, you know, I started with a prehistory chapter because I kind of wanted to do it in chronological order of like time periods. It might not be the best starting option though, because the prehistory chapter is entirely non-verbal, and I also get the impression that it might be a little bit shorter than some of the other chapters as well. I also had some issues with the difficulty curve in the prehistory chapter, which I have not run into in the Imperial China chapter so far. But I'm really loving the story specifically that the Imperial China chapter is telling so far. And I've just remembered, I think last week I did mention I was probably going to pick up Live Alive, or I already had or something, but I was going to hold off and finish Dragon Quest III HD 2D first. I am, of course, as always, a fool and an unwilling passenger to the whims of my own desires, though I do intend to continue Dragon Quest III HD 2D as well. One final thing I picked up in the sale for super cheap was a indie kind of sim management game. I always go to call them tycoon games, but I don't think that's the term for them these days, but it's called Megaquarium, and it is basically just Aquarium Tycoon. It's very quaint. If you want to see me playing some of it, yesterday's Miscellaneous Shenanigans video does contain some gameplay. You're just building up your own little aquarium with little fish tanks and, you know, trying to suit their needs and that kind of thing. It's not super in-depth or anything like that, but it is a fun little thing, and I don't know, I've just been in the mood for one of those games lately, which is why I'm also super excited to have picked up 2 Point Campus and the Jingle Jam bundle. I did see that next year 2 Point Studios are releasing 2 Point Museum, and I don't know why, but the idea of a museum tycoon game just sounds so incredibly up my alley. Up my alley. I know how to speak English. And again, I'm so happy to just own it and be able to just boot it up at my own whim. You know, just spend some time in it, put it away for like 2 years, boot it up again, not worry about, you know, my subscription or anything like that. Should I cancel my Game Pass subscription? No, because they finally added Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel to the service, which I could have bought several times over, but I already own it on PS4. I love it over there, but because I barely have my PS4 plugged in and ready to play most of the time, you know, I've been waiting for it to come to Game Pass since it was announced that they were trying to buy Activision, basically. And it's taken so fucking long. Sorry, he really felt the venom in that one, huh? Also, I guess Indiana Jones and the Great Circle comes out, like, tomorrow or something. There were loads of ads being like, oh, it's available now, and like, kind of looking misleading, like, you could play it now, but then they were like, early access, lol. I hate the games industry, man. Day one on Xbox Game Pass, even though that's, like, pretty much the only way you're going to experience the game at that date is if you didn't buy it yourself. But we get to call it day one because it's technically still the day one release. We've decided arbitrarily. Okay, I'm not that mad. I just think it's so fucking dumb. Anyway, sorry. This one really is a bit rambly this week, isn't it? I'm not crazy excited about the Indiana Jones game, but I'll probably check it out. Speaking of probably checking things out, Marvel Rivals came out, and I have played precisely 3 matches, and you know what? I take back things I've said in the past about it being an Overwatch clone. It's just in the same subgenre that Overwatch it didn't start. Team Fortress 2 started it. Probably. I don't know, maybe Team Fortress 1 started it. I didn't play that damn game. But I enjoyed Spider-Man. I played as Spider-Man. That game is very pretty, but don't check the in-game shop because you will lose your life savings. They have put a lot of effort into the cosmetics in that game, and while I don't intend to spend... I don't even know if I'm going to go back to the game. It's fun, but there are just so many other video games. Boy, could I see myself being tempted if I did get into the game. Oh, also, Mike Ibarra was apparently super tilted about this game existing and calling it an Overwatch ripoff and saying that Black Widow is a clear ripoff of Widowmaker in terms of, like, not just character design, but her name. And I don't think he realizes that the Black Widow characters existed for 50 years. So that puts some points in the Marvel Rivals category too. I mean, I know it's Neddy's, but my spite for that man runs pretty deep. Speaking of the gaming industry being rotten, the Game Awards are coming up soon. That's an interesting segue, isn't it? As I said to Reese, the whole charade with the Gaming Awards last year, where they weren't giving people time to speak on stage at all, you know, I could give them the benefit of a doubt of that being an overcorrection from the previous year, but we're going to see this year. If they make that same mistake again, then it's just outright disrespect. No question, you know. But even though it's already basically an ad fest with arbitrary rewards thrown out super quick in between, I do still enjoy watching it, so I'm kind of looking forward to the Game Awards. I don't know, maybe I've got that freaking complex going on, whatever it's called. But yeah, there'll probably be a couple of interesting announcements there. But speaking of the Game Awards, that's right, this was actually just another segue for the thing I really wanted to talk about. I've been working on my yearly blog post / video of the top 10 games I played this year, which means it's not, you know, limited to games that were released this year, it's more personal than that. And I've fully finished writing the blog post. It's about 4,000 words long, which is I think a little longer than normal. And I've finished recording the commentary for the video. I just now need to kind of like put the finishing touches on, like in terms of background music and footage and that kind of thing. But strap in, because it's going to be a bit of a weird one. I'm going to try and schedule it to release next Sunday. But it's been really fun doing that. There's a reason I've been doing this since 2016, because it is really fun to look back at your year and be like, okay, what were the 10 best games I played this year and why? And like, you know, writing it out and kind of like trying to put across to people why the games I played are great. And oftentimes it does not align with the usual kind of Game Awards games in there. So be on the lookout for that, won't you, my chums? Are you my chums? Can I call you my chums? I'm also planning for the first time to do a accompanying blog post / video for the best books that I read this year. It would be the top 10 books that I read this year, but I'm limiting it to 1 book per series. And while I've read 15 books so far this year, that does limit it to 9. So it will be the top 9 books I've read this year. This has all contributed a little bit to my spreadsheet madness. For those of you who aren't aware, I love to, you know, kind of make spreadsheets about games I'm playing and that kind of thing. And I decided to make a spreadsheet. Actually, the main purpose of this spreadsheet is to gather the data from the years in review things that, you know, like Steam and Xbox and YouTube Music and Spotify and places like that do, and put it into a spreadsheet format, because that stuff doesn't stick around and it would be cool to keep and see. But one of the sheets within that spreadsheet is also, I just went back through and grabbed the data for all of my top 10 games I played this year posts all the way back to 2016, and I put them next to each other, and I can see them in a handy dandy new format. It's really neat to just be able to look and go, oh, this is what my 2017 looked like, this is what my 2021 looked like. We don't talk about 2020 because for some reason I gave the Game of the Year to Shadowlands, the World of Warcraft expansion. It was a rough year, okay, I don't know what I was doing. It was because it had just come out, and I actually do quite like the leveling experience for Shadowlands, don't at me. In doing this, I also noticed that for like 4 years in a row, I had that year's Elder Scrolls Online expansion at 6th place. This is not something I did on purpose, it just happened to trend in 6th place, and then it went away for a year, and then it came back in 5th place, so maybe having a year's break from the game is good. Anyway, I'm rambling. If you're still with me, I doubt anyone's still watching this far into the video. This one's been pretty freaking rambly and in my own sauce. But finally, you will have seen on the channel this week I did finish Empire of Silence by Christopher Verrocchio. I have now started the second book in the series, Howling Dark. As you can see, my time as a paramedic has come to an end. I may have ended up toasting those people instead of saving them, but it didn't count that way, so the Liberty City State Police cannot charge me with any felonies. I'm pretty sure that's how the legal system works in America. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched this far, and I will catch you in whatever less rambly thing I make next.